That's locked over. We're going to give it.
Okay, we're good?
All right.
Okay.
Should be good.
Motion
Tell
called.
me the microphone is kind of catching the audio, the little mic image. Test, test, test. On the lower left of the screen, see the little microphone image?
Yep.
Okay, is it showing green as we're talking?
It's showing green, yes,
Okay.
and it's recording.
That's great.
Okay, motion to call the meeting to order. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, roll call. Trustee Stetser?
Aye.
Trustee Lanfair? Aye. Trustee Keating?
Aye.
Trustee Lightgev?
Aye.
Mayor Plummer?
Aye.
Motion
Brooklyn
passes.
said good. He gave us a thumbs up.
Oh, thanks, Brooklyn. Okay, great. Okay, so here we are. Where do we want to begin?
So I had sent out an agenda of things still to do. Do you want to go down that list? Seems like a good way to do it.
Sure.
Okay. So part of what we need to talk about is salaries, and I can walk us through where we are with that, but we would have to do that in executive session.
Yeah, we can.
It's one of the items on the list, it's one of the more important items on the list. So I don't know. So that covers the COLA. Do we want to talk about, okay, so the other things that are not that, attorney fees, arboretum needs, South and Boughton, the creek bed, the outlier discussion. The outlier discussion might be a good place to start.
Why don't we start with that?
Okay.
Contingency fund. Contingency fund feels like the last thing we should do once we know what we're spending on everything else. And then we populate the contingency fund based on how much we want to raise taxes and how much we want to raise that fund. And then the comptroller review items that Justin brought up. So if you want to do the outliers, so I sent around a spreadsheet, outliers VO1. I haven't, so do you want to do revenues first or output first? Revenues or expenses?
Either.
Expenses.
Okay, let's do expenses first.
Okay.
So the first one that on the list, so it's just the ones in pink are the ones that are, and to be clear, it's anything more than $10,000 difference from last year to this year,
Yeah.
and more than 10%. I'm not interested in, something that was a $1,000 line item and it raised $100. That's not that big a deal. So we're going more than $10,000, more than 10%. So the first thing that comes up are the legal fees. And you've got Hodgson Russ, this is,
Can you call out the row number?
sure, 44.
Thanks.
40.
Okay.
So we've got Hodgson Rush shrinking by 67%. So we had budgeted 30K for them, and it is coming in for next year at 10K. Does that seem reasonable to people?
Well, why don't we talk also about the range of the estimate that they gave us, because the 10K even bumped it up again
Yeah.
from what they gave us.
The
'cause
high range. It's
Yeah,
Up in the high range, it's more than they estimated.
they estimated, I think the top was 7,500. So
We took it to
we're
10.
just saying, let's do 10 and,
And I know the mayor followed up a conversation with
Yeah.
him, and he reiterated that.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
I'm fine with it.
yeah.
Everybody good with it? And they've only spent 5,800 year to date, but that's through
December.
December.
Mhm.
So it's
We're still well
7/12
below,
of the
yeah, we're
month
still
of
below the
fiscal
benchmark.
year. Okay, we're good with that. We knocked out the LWRP.
I can follow up. I had a conversation with Mindy today, because I had said early on she didn't provide an estimate related to 75 Monroe, and she informed me that she anticipated all of her fees would be charged to the escrow back to the applicant
Okay.
in relation to 75 Monroe next year.
Okay.
So she didn't feel it was necessary
So
to
that's
the
going
budget.
forward, yeah.
And she put that in writing for the board.
Okay.
And that was number 3 on Dan's list, and I
Yeah, you asked
and I
me
had
about it.
contacted you, and you said you were already looking into it, so that was addressed.
That was addressed. That's the answer to that. And she did say she'd put it in writing for the board, that we had the conversation and what she was telling me.
Okay.
Okay,
Okay.
so to be clear,
So that's just for 40, line 42?
yeah,
Yep,
Mhm.
so to be clear, last year we budgeted 192K, this year we're budgeting 165, it's a pretty significant decrease.
Yeah, 14%.
This is, I have this trouble every single year,
Yeah.
which is that we don't remember what they told us they had estimated, and we're not comparing it to what actually
spent.
happened, and so
Mhm.
we are flying blind a little bit. But it does seem to make sense through December if we're at 60K or 59,807. 165 still seems pretty conservative, frankly. So I'm okay with this. You guys good with this? All right. The next one was the contractual ones grew significantly, line 49. But I think you're moving things around for different accounts.
yeah, well, it's projects, it's the anticipated projects, we're expecting more engineering involved in different things that we're looking at doing, so we increase that line appropriately to cover those, so we have the funds available if there's a speed, SRF needs to come out or something
Yeah.
else, we have the funding available.
And, and also just because NISTOD's sort of hanging out in our village, they're pretty much forwarding their mail at this point. It's an opportunity for us to really kind of jump on some of the projects that, haven't been addressed, so there's that component as well.
I'd like to also understand how that ties into row 100. Because this is street engineering contractual expenses. And this is equipment rental, these are different things.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's different.
Yeah,
So we're growing 60% there just because we have stuff we need to do.
correct, there's various road projects, and Zach can speak to that implemented on that line, some oil and stoning and different things. I think there was 3 streets involved.
Lincoln and Washington
Mhm.
for stone and oil. And the obvious, just patchwork, that's always consistent every year.
Okay?
And some of this also, correct me if I'm wrong, but, we're in an inflationary cycle, so we are factoring in some cost of goods increase, things like that, materials
Yeah.
as well.
Still don't have exact numbers of where we're going to be sitting
Yeah.
yet. They should be out any day now, but, there's probably going to be a pretty good increase. to
Yeah.
this.
Yeah, I think gas products.
Yeah, those lines were hit, definitely.
Okay, so line 106 and 105 is pretty straightforward. That is the new toolcat, and that's a big jump there, obviously. Line 106 is one that I want to examine a little bit. So if you look at the 3-year average of 19, 20, and 21, it was at 25K, close to, call it 26. And now we're proposing 50, which, and in theory, I'm in favor of adding more money into maintenance funds, no doubt about it, but that's a really big jump. Can you justify that?
Yeah, the equipment that we're dealing with right now is older, and, every year, requires more and more maintenance, and it's only a matter of time until something catastrophic happens, so just being cautious, more or less.
Okay.
I'm not sure where we're at with what we budgeted for and what we spent so far
Yeah.
this year.
I
We
think-
budgeted 40, so far we've spent about 20
Right.
That's up
through December.
Through December.
Yeah, so
So that's
still
7.
ways off.
Yeah.
There's been some spending since then.
Yeah.
Um,
So that'll come in 35, 40, somewhere in there.
Yeah, I'm guessing we'll be pretty close to it, especially with, again, inflation, prices of everything going up, so.
I mean, I'd advocate going down 5K, but it's 5K, it's not that big a deal.
I'd advocate for leaving it.
Leave it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I would prefer to leave it. Like, it's
Okay.
old equipment, I mean,
Yeah.
Pedestrian signs,
Yeah.
everything's in there.
I think
Yeah, Justin?
that is one that I feel is justified based on the DPW inventory. So that's of all the different expense areas that we have, I think that one is well documented, that we need
Yeah.
support for the aging fleet. And we can go beyond that too, I think, if we really look closely at that and establish what we need to.
Yeah, that's just, things that break, getting them repaired so we can
Yeah.
carry on, not necessarily making things better.
Yeah.
As long as we're using it for that and not moving that money around, that's good. Okay, sidewalks and curb, more contractual expenses.
What line are you?
This is 132, but it's a really big jump. Various sidewalk repairs, equipment rentals went from
Yep.
2K to 41K.
So we got big projects coming up too.
Yeah, there's three,
Huge.
there's 2 sidewalk projects.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do you want to speak to those projects? Just
Yeah.
the board? Yeah.
If they're approved by the board, we're just to replace approximately 650 linear feet of sidewalk from Jane Place to the Village Line on the north side of State Street. And the other one was approximately 250, 60 feet from South Street to Boughton on the south side of State Street. Both are problematic areas. One has drainage issues, the other one has a lot of broken sections of sidewalk and 4-foot sections.
So that's South and State are the two big ones?
They're both on State.
Oh, they're both
One
on
section
State.
is between South and Boughton.
Okay, sorry.
Sorry.
Got it, all right.
So being that those are so lengthy, and the amount of work for us to do it in-house is pretty difficult. And also a place to store all of the waste material, all this sidewalk that we tear out.
Yeah, you had
We don't
brought this
have
up
a
to the
place
board
to
before.
put it.
Yep.
So this is all done through a contract, and that's why you're seeing such a high.
So it's sort of a soup to nuts.
Yes.
They go in, they handle the waste, they handle everything.
Yep. But there
And they're
are.
responsible for it,
And they're responsible. for it,
which
yes.
is a big deal.
Yep,
Yeah.
so start to finish, it's their project, or the alternate is we would have some form of assist on it, whether it be, tearing it out, framing it up, or whatever, if you guys would approve the money for us to do, that's how we would work with it, because there are different levels, A, B, C, and D, and A being all-inclusive, D being, just part inclusive, so getting everything prepped and formed up for the contractor to come through and then just pour the concrete. So it's really all dependent on what you guys budget for us.
You've given us, though, for those projects, the soup to nut, as the mayor was saying, the one that we're hiring out, that would be done more efficiently and have the waste taken care of. That's what is included in our budget item right now, in this line item.
Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what I'm
Because I
last.
put in two different numbers for
No,
each section of sidewalk.
We went to the highest amount for the purposes of, it's short summer, the
Yeah,
guys have other projects, catch basins, different things, and, to really accomplish something like this, we want it to be done. And that was one of the goals of the budget, let's budget for things we can complete,
Yeah.
we don't want to
And
keep
in
carrying.
a timely.
In a timely
Right.
manner.
for a
So-
small crew, yeah.
Yeah, and then these companies they're just focused on it and they're not being
Yep.
pulled away.
They're dedicated.
Yeah.
I mean, our guys
I just
are-
remember when sidewalk was being put in on East Ave, they were getting, close to 1,000 feet down the page.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, that was amazing.
yeah, it's pretty impressive for
Yeah.
our crew that's all they
Yeah.
do.
Yeah.
and do it. So, yeah, just to
Yeah.
carry on with other work and get it done as quick as possible.
And then, so once these projects are done in that fashion, when would be the next time you'd have to really revisit that? Like, what is the duration, pretty much? Once it's-
We have sidewalks here that are probably, 50 years old that,
Okay, so this is something that we do it once, we do it right, and
Yep.
it's good for the longer term.
Yeah, as long as the ground stays stable.
Yeah, well, there's that, but-
There's always the factor that a root can, heave the sidewalk.
Yeah, but I mean, all things being equal,
Yeah,
that's, okay, so the lifespan of the project's pretty significant. Okay,
No doubt our crew could do it, but, sometimes you got to use their time more efficiently.
Yeah. yeah, Yeah.
On that same issue, Zach, I think that we were talking about a sidewalk inventory so that we can help to prioritize the different projects we have coming up. Any update on when that might be available or?
as soon as possible.
yeah.
It's the
It's
best
all
thing.
part of the infrastructure
Yeah,
program here, yep.
we're plugging along.
Okay, I'm just having trouble, since we are going up so much here, I'd really like to be able to understand the context and what the other sidewalks are that need attention and see
Yeah.
if this is, to be able to justify the numbers.
And so you've identified these two projects, though, as a high priority
Yes, the one.
with the crew,
Yeah,
yeah.
the larger of the two were brought to the board for budget season last year too,
Mhm.
was denied. But this one, I brought the section in between South and Boughton as well, just because there is issues with drainage over there. They are high priority and issues, but Typically, when we do sidewalk repairs, it's a section here, a section there. And when I mean a section, I mean like a 5 foot by 5
Yeah.
foot section that we would cut out and pour ourselves.
Like the Del Monte was done earlier.
Yes,
Yeah.
and that's
sure.
typically because of roots heaving the sidewalk
Mhm.
or settling issues and it's cracking and stuff like that. So it's not long sections like this typically. So it's like, out in front of 36 Bowden Ave. It's 15 feet of sidewalk.
Yeah.
Okay, the next one on the list is a big jump. In line 139, jumped 52%. This is, parks went from 23K to 35K.
Mhm. That was
Flower
all,
baskets, wreaths, gardening tools, that's a big jump.
There's other additionals in there.
Yeah.
The new community event sign.
Oh, that's right.
Is falling apart, new trash receptacles.
Yeah,
Oh, them-
those are $1,000 a piece.
yep, that's right.
There's,
If I recall correctly, we downgraded some of our flower
Yeah.
baskets and some
Yeah.
of the expectations
Yeah.
around that
Yep.
to help bring this number down too.
Yeah.
Okay, it's only a 12K bump, it's not a huge one.
yeah, no, that's covering, 4,000 is the community event sign alone. And then you
Yeah,
start
that's
adding
right.
the
That was
event,
a big-
you start adding
Mhm.
benches or
Yeah.
trash
And
recycling.
the trash receptacles, we had this conversation, I'm just trying to recall it. We're replacing ones that you're constantly repairing.
Yeah.
And the ones that we're looking at really have a much longer lifespan.
Yes, there's steel
Okay.
versus wood.
That's right, that's what it was, thank you.
Wood, we're constantly
Okay.
replacing the slats on, repainting. Not to say that that wouldn't happen with the steel ones, but we wouldn't have to replace the wood.
Yeah,
The steel ones, they're expensive, they're, between.
but it's less maintenance,
Yeah, it's less maintenance,
Yeah.
and they're a lot more stable.
they're more stable too, right?
And we
Okay,
use the extra ones already, right? We put one out at the bus stop
Yeah.
on Monroe.
Yeah.
I can't remember where the other one went, but we don't have any left in the
Uh,
depot or.
We did drag a couple out of the canal,
oh, no.
that can go back along the canal path, because that's where they're from, but right now, they're just sitting on standby in
Okay,
Yeah.
the shop.
Yeah, some of these items were directly from Lily's wish list, and I
Yeah.
can speak to the community event sign, it's a mess.
That's all right, that's all right.
Yeah.
So while we were spending more money on contractors around sidewalks and curbs, we're spending quite a bit less on the drainage. So we saved 20K there.
Yeah.
Is that by design?
It is by design because Rain Creek was in last year's budget,
Okay,
and actually that's being shifted in 4 degrees, that'll go to the ARPA funding, because it really lends itself perfectly for the ARPA.
Yeah, it's a good
funding.
match with ARPA,
Yeah,
for
it is.
sure.
and same story on South and Boughton?
That would, if that's what the board chooses to budget that project to be done, yeah.
Okay, because that was one of the other line items.
Right, and also part of South and Wood, that project is, we have that $100,000 grant too that we're
Right,
kicking in. at
yeah,
some
that's
point.
going to be its own capital.
Yeah, that's a separate.
Yeah.
All right,
Okay, now some benefit stuff, which was strange to me. Retirement down 24% on row 196.
You can thank New York State, they had a banner year. They announced it when we were at NICOM, they brought
there
in,
was cheering.
yeah, there was a lot of cheering. Their dividends and everything, whatever they did, they made more money, so they're able to increase COLA to the retirees and decrease the cost to the municipalities.
Okay, but 28% more to health and dental.
Yep, easy explanation, we have more employees on health, and I budgeted a 12% increase, because it's pretty standard what we've done, and usually we come in less than that, but we want to make sure we have the funding.
Okay, that's it on the expense side. Those are the big ones on the expense side. On the revenue side, there are no row numbers here on the sheet, but there's only a few of them. Real property tax items down, this is row 8, down 11K.
That would be the Comida. I received notification from our assessor that is been removed, and it goes into, you'll see where regular property tax increased, that's where it went.
Okay, it offsets with gross
Yeah.
receipts from,
I didn't print that sheet.
I know, I don't
I
have a
didn't know we
sheet.
were
Okay.
going there, I didn't know there was.
Yeah, it's, okay, so it offsets with the property taxes.
Yep,
Okay.
and I was anticipating that happening at some point.
Okay. 141K more on sales tax.
Yep,
That seems conservative. We've talked that through.
I have. I'm still nervous with that number,
Yeah.
but if we look at this year's anticipation, I'm well under that even. So not knowing what everything's going to do, I think it's safer not to budget what we anticipate getting this year, just because of inflation and everything and spending. Although I see everybody out shopping, so I can't say I'm right.
Dan, you said that's conservative, meaning it was that your opinion that we should raise that, or you're just, okay,
Yeah.
all right.
That's conservative. It could be quite a bit higher.
Yeah, it could be, we just don't,
Yes, no, I
You know,
think we
not
already
counting on
talked
it.
about
Yeah.
Yeah.
comfort level around that one.
Yeah.
to leave
I
it.
tend to be a little higher when I estimate for expenses and a little lower when I anticipate revenues, just because I rather things come in higher on the revenues and lower on the expenses, if that makes any sense.
Gross receipts from utilities up 11K.
Yes, I'm anticipating more from our G&E because of that settlement.
and that should be consistent.
And it might be more. I'm
Yeah,
downplaying it because it's usually double what you get from our G&E.
50K more in CHIPS funding.
That's because it's going directly to the purchase of the tool cap.
Okay. That's it. Those are the big ones.
I feel like it was a quiz. Did I pass it?
flying colors.
We made exactly no adjustments.
I'm sorry, just a question about the toolcat comment. You said that the CHIPS funding is going directly to the toolcat, but we've got the toolcat counted on the other side, don't we?
You
For
have
the
to,
Full amount, or?
the full amount, and actually it is the full amount of CHIPS.
Okay.
The CHIPS funding you use totally for whatever project or road project, you would offset that expense.
So we're not double accounting?
No,
for
no,
that?
we're not double.
Okay, I just want to make sure.
No, the total amount for the CHIPS should cover the cost of the tool cap. We'll only put in for what we anticipate.
That was that. Okay, great. We've done the attorneys. The RAND discussion, so RAND compared to South and Bowden. That, I don't see that yet in the budget.
No, we don't have it in. If we're
We haven't
running,
even touched that in terms of what it's going to cost yet.
yeah, we're waiting.
Can we imagine that it would cost a similar amount to what we spent on?
I would say it's probably going to cost more,
Okay.
at least twice, because it's twice so much.
So are we saying we aren't going to need to do anything this budget cycle with that, or we're just, it
That's-
seems like it's an open-ended?
I think it's well enough to go another year without being touched if we don't have to, or if we're not going to be in there.
Okay.
Let's start the planning and, drilling down on that.
Planning first,
Yeah.
which is going to be part of the South Street project,
Okay.
and then move on from there, I believe.
Okay.
Part of the South Street redesign, the
Yeah,
So, yeah.
road project is what I meant, okay.
Yeah, I think we're kind of lumping that into the same project if possible.
if possible.
Yeah.
At some point, yeah.
Okay.
But anticipate the Rain Creek project, we're going to bring to the board as an ARPA project, so that would be budgeted, and then the budget can do that. Right now, Scott Harder has submitted, and it's the Army Corps,
It's DEC and
Yeah.
Army Corps, both have,
so it's not going to come in for this budget year. It's
Okay.
just not.
yeah, they have a 60-day turnaround
For
roughly
the
now.
time
They're
approvals
backed
and
up.
everything, by the time the design and
Yeah.
everything got submitted and the board approved, he's still waiting.
Yeah.
Yes.
Speaking of those funds, are we going to have a conversation at some point regarding what the trustees' priority list may be to develop? I know trustee Keating has brought this up in the past, to have the conversation about those funds and how the village would like to see those utilized, so that
Absolutely.
we will develop a
Absolutely.
wish list, if you will, and prioritize them, and similar to what the town of Pittsburgh did.
You're talking about the ARPA funding?
Mhm.
No,
So
we're
I
going to
guess
have
that's
that
different.
conversation. I mean, the Ram Creek, like you said, we budgeted for it this year. It was going to come out of general fund, but ARPA will is a great source
Yeah.
for that funding. We didn't budget in this upcoming year for it because it was budgeted in this year. It's not going to play out. It's just the timing and getting all the approvals we need. I didn't put it in this budget. We can if the board chooses, but it really lends itself to ARPA. The money, if it's not spent and we have the end of the year will go into fund balance, we can always amend to use fund balance to cover Rand Creek if the board chooses. So you have some leeway. It's not like everything's set in stone with that, because if we don't spend it, if it goes in fund balance, it's still there. It's just a matter of shifting your priority. But we should have the discussion on the ARPA funds. We only received one portion of it. We should be receiving the second
Yeah.
check in this year. So that is money available for such projects.
So I think the
It's not
town,
already spoken for?
ARPA? No, we
Okay.
haven't designated anything anywhere. That it needs to have its own set budget for when it's used.
Mhm.
It has to be treated almost like a reserve. And
We're
Yeah,
not
I-
boxing ourselves into a corner where then we'll be forced to use the ARPA funds without even having.
no, we haven't made any final decision. My suggestion to you, obviously, for Rand Creek, because stormwater is huge in the ARPA, that is one of the major things that they
the
designated.
funds are restricted in terms of what we can use, you know,
Mhm.
so like infrastructure like this is just a perfect match. It does, you know, won't send up a red flag. And, you know, the town received, I think, 2.5 million, and we received 168,000, I think it was roughly.
Not even that much.
Not even that much,
I
yeah.
think it's like maybe
Let's-
140.
I can't even remember anymore.
Yeah, because I think it was like
It is
60.
140 something, you're
Yeah.
right.
Two payments of 71,000.
Right,
Thank you.
yeah,
And we
In
only
fact,
received half of it.
right, we only got half.
So-
And matter of fact, it was before showing up on your revenue sheets. It's not there now. I talked to the accountant,
Separate.
and we agreed it shouldn't be showing because it's not actual revenue the village earned.
Right.
So we need to set a budget separately
Okay,
for
so it's
ARPA.
its own separate.
It's its own
thing.
entity.
Its own separate thing.
And in fact, we have requirements, you know, quarterly reports to file with, you know, the government, so they're tracking how we are
Right.
using those funds within the guidelines and parameters that they've established at
So
the
that
federal
doesn't
level.
need to be part of this budget.
No, it's
No.
not. That budget can be designed at any
Think of it as a
time.
reserve,
Okay.
you know.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
unless,
Putting the-
Can I push gently back on that, around around Rand and, I keep saying Rand, Fountain and South? That's been on our radar for years. And we really haven't done anything about it.
The creek,
Yeah, the creek bed around,
well, it's been brought to, I don't know, how-
they brought it to us like 4 years ago,
who's they?
Curran, the woman who lives there.
And there was never a determination made or anything set aside for
Yeah, and then the Rand people kind of became active, and we said, well, let's have them do both of these, you know, scope out both of these at once, and it keeps dying, and it keeps not happening.
So I can speak a little bit to that too, you know, Zach, we've had a number of meetings on that. The RAND piece, that RAND component, I think was brought to the board, what, 4 years ago, 4.5?
it. Probably it might even be
Longer, perhaps, okay, so, you know, that piece is moving forward. The piece that's on Boughton, the other part of the creek there, there's a few legal steps involved, because there was never any type of easement signed, an agreement with the previous owner that was supposed to have been signed off on, so
So
that didn't happen.
we technically don't have a right to go on our
Yeah.
property to do anything.
Look, we went over this a couple months ago, and Scott Harder came in and said, I've examined it, and the village very clearly did the work on this. So the village then is
Yeah.
responsible for maintaining it and updating it.
Right, and there's a legal component of that to make sure that the easement's filed, that's all, you know, we're just saying that's a step that has been missing that we need to complete with the
before we
current
move
owner.
forward. I mean,
Before we
we're not
move
saying we don't
forward.
have the responsibility. I think we have to have that paper so we can go on
Yeah.
the property now legally and do the project.
And we did the same thing, for example, with Rand, with,
Yeah.
you know, the owners
Yeah.
there.
So
And-
Dan, you're saying we should be if there are some steps to take, can we
Let's do
budget
them.
for those
Yeah.
steps to get the project moving?
Yeah.
Whether so
That's-
I don't know how much it costs to do
That's fine,
those
that's
steps.
gonna take more engineering costs.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So we'll increase the
I
engineering
agree,
component.
I just don't
Yeah.
want to, like, we're in March now,
yeah.
and the thought of another year
Mhm.
happening before we even think about it.
Well, so it's not that we weren't thinking about it, it was just gonna be
Yeah.
grouped in with the South Street project. We're gonna
Right.
be looking at it at the same time, so
So do we
the
want
wheels
to,
are kind of moving with it, but.
So are the engineering costs, part of the costs for the South Street project then, if we're lumping those
I
together?
think we were attempting to.
We were
do
talking about that.
So do we have
Ideas,
enough to
trying
cover
run
that?
In other words, the early days, the upfront engineering,
Okay.
how will all of this look going forward? And that was a component of that.
So that is already
Well,
included
we
in that
have
South?
35,000 right now with South Street Design and we have
Yeah.
25,000 in general, so I'm
Okay.
not sure what.
So that could maybe
It could
take care
very
of
well
some of
cost, it could very
Okay.
well afford it.
Yeah,
And then when you get to the discussion, when, like Lily said, you want to talk ARPA, if this is one of those projects,
Right.
again, that falls
Okay.
clearly in ARPA along with RAND, and those are the projects you choose to fund with ARPA, then we can do all that in one
Right.
budget and set that up to do.
So to Dan's point then, maybe we just need to be clear about our intention with the Boughton, I mean, not, no, that's right.
yeah,
Boughton Rand.
Boughton Rand.
We'll call it Boughton Rand.
Boughton and South.
Boughton South
Yeah.
for this one.
Yeah.
So that it doesn't get kicked down the road unintentionally or not, but just maybe setting clear that part of those engineering costs that we budgeted are for that.
Yep.
And I don't know.
And that was always part of our discussion anyway.
Yeah.
No, but that's a good idea.
Yeah,
we
That
can
way
make it
it's
sure.
there and it's
Yeah.
followed.
Yeah. And that way we can also
Just
say
clarify it.
for the residents, well, I only know one that I've
Sure.
spoken with, but to show that there is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say that we have the money in the fund already, so
Yeah.
I can throw Boughton on there and try to add a little note. It's very limited with the spacing.
Sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and are there legal costs, you said, also for something? or you
Yeah,
don't really
well,
know that yet?
what's interesting about it is there already is an easement that we paid for
Okay.
to have it drawn up for that property. So Jeff, we started to go down the road on this, so Jeff brought that up. He said, Osborne Reed did the work. So it is really circling back with now the current owner
Okay,
and having that conversation. And, just as a matter of record, I have reached out to her already about that.
Okay,
So,
great.
then
Yeah.
that sounds good, thank you. Then one of the other agenda items is Arboretum costs. Right now, there's $4,000 in there, which seems very.
Yeah, because we just approved, what was it, 30, how much is it going to cost?
3,600 for the
This
survey
year's
in this
Yeah.
year's budget.
Oh, it's for this year, okay.
In this year's budget.
Okay, so that won't dip into that.
Mhm.
I had the same question.
Mhm.
Okay. So that would be, well, this is also on the list. Do we want to discuss that now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I do think, I think a lot of what our next steps would be based on the outcome of that survey and how we really look at the delineations of that land.
And next
So-
steps forward.
Yeah, and next steps forward, like, how is DPW defined? What are those needs for DPW as well? So I think there's a few more moving parts. I think the 4K was put in, just as a sense of,
Taking care of
signage.
it.
We need some of the signage is going in. Some of that's coming out of this year's budget, though. Am I correct? You're already working on that.
Yes.
So the,
Right.
the basic needs of that to keep the invasives down, again, this is not my area of expertise, so I'm going to use the wrong terms, but the felt or the, whatever was put down.
The tarp?
The tarp,
Mhm.
yeah. We'll need to do that again?
No, this stays in place.
That
for-
stays in place.
A couple of years, yeah.
Okay,
That's a
okay.
longer term.
So like thinking about the,
Well, there are a lot more invasives that have to be cleared out.
okay, and that seems to be the best way, most effective.
For the knotweed,
Yeah.
yes, there may be other ideas out there. This
And how
seems to
much-
be the most fitting, given that area.
Okay,
I'm not comfortable using chemicals,
yeah, yeah.
and nobody's certified in our shop to do it. And to bring someone in to start chemically killing all that knotweed is gonna be pretty expensive. And also, we have wetland issues to deal with too, so I'm not sure the proximity and legality of all that at this point.
Yeah, it's hard to know until we get that, the survey back to start.
Yeah, I
But
think,
we do want some basic things to keep the.
yeah, I mean, and I think the 4,000 was saying there's some basic things to keep things moving along. I think what'll be derivative from that survey will be the clarity of what those next steps will be. And then we can really revisit, any additional costs going forward, but.
I'd like to bump that up some. 4 just feels light.
Mhm.
Well, the other thing that we discussed at the we got the update from Scott, let me see if I can find it in our notes, but the other thing, if there's any issue, given that he was describing how lots has happened around there with other properties, and if there are any legal things or any, I don't know, something that might need to be happened to clarify around that area. I don't know how much that would be.
I don't know that would be in that line. That's legal.
It would come still, okay, so even though it's our.
Yeah, it wouldn't go,
it's still
no,
okay.
it
So we
would
don't need to.
stay out of the legal lines. The contract line is clearly what's spent on the Arboretum, like
Yeah,
hay
Right.
bales.
So we haven't, in our legal, we
still
haven't.
fencing.
Do you have
I wouldn't worry about your
something in
legal.
mind
No,
that you like done?
Hang on, we're all cross-talking. Who's saying what?
I was just asking Dan if you had something in mind that,
no, it's
you
just,
can move
it's
forward
a-
with the Arboretum after
Yeah.
the survey's done.
no, it's just, it's a pretty big, we're making something out of nothing,
Right.
and that's gonna cost more than $4,000.
And we are also, we don't have a plan yet, and we want to do it incrementally. I would be comfortable moving that up, because we don't know what to expect after, ideally, we're right on the money with where we thought the whole thing is, the space, the lines, the survey, and then we can move forward, but,
What do you think, 10K, 15K?
oh, I wasn't thinking that.
Oh, I
I think
I
we need a
think,
grant.
yeah, I was thinking maybe bump it up to 5K,
Yeah.
because really, once, there's, the stormwater forms, all the environmental assessments, the seeker, there's other determinations that still have to be made that have not been made. So, there's still process involved here. And so once we're through that process, then it would be, getting someone in to help plan, that's where maybe,
Survey, plan, design.
yeah, design it,
then implementation.
Right, so, but, that's not like an overnight thing. So, I think I'm comfortable with like 5K saying, great, we get a consultant in who can help us start those early stages of planning based on what we do find from the survey and how we move forward.
Like how the town did it, that was a pretty, what is it, 250,000 grant, or was it less than that to do?
I don't remember what their grant
And they
was.
started with the planning first.
Yeah, that was over a 5-year period, yeah.
It was, and most of it was done at the,
Yeah. 11th hour.
Yeah, still, but they did this, so they brought in, Sue Steele and then her team, and they moved pretty quickly.
And they
but
did
it was
seeker, they
all-
did the stormwater review, they did LWRP, they did all of the
Yeah.
assessments and
So if
all
we're
the
looking at
forms.
that, I
Yeah.
think a grant from a bigger perspective, and of course, we need to figure out what we want to do, and maybe that's what it, so I don't want to put the cart before the horse. I want to make sure we're making incremental progress there. That was the intent when this was set aside as an arboretum. So I don't know how others feel. I don't want to overdo it when we don't yet know what's ahead of us. We don't have a plan, but we do need money to plan, and so I think we need to seek a grant or some other funding. I would be interested.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, there's a tremendous opportunity to seek grant funding, for sure, especially for something like this, yeah.
I mean, if you guys budgeted that much money for the Arboretum, after the survey is already done, everything's delineated, or your lot lines are, and what you're working with, that's a lot of money to be able to put into a plan that, could start to be implemented, so.
Yeah, so are you saying to kind of plan ahead for that a little bit, or?
It's fine, I don't want to spend too much more time talking about $1,000 or $2,000. So,
So instruction, am I increasing the line for the Arboretum, or?
You want to take it up to 5?
I'm comfortable with
Okay.
5. I think Dan suggested 10. That's that's.
I think that's
sizable
kind of a big
difference,
chunk.
arm wrestle?
Yeah, I mean, I'm open, I just don't
Point
want to, I want to be a little conservative and make sure we're making progress in the right way before we.
How about 6?
6,500.
How about,
Do I hear something? Yeah, right.
I'm fine with that.
okay, 6,000.
6,000?
Okay.
I gotta squeeze 2,000 from something.
Yeah.
Well, we're not done with everything yet.
Yeah, I know, I'm just
Yeah.
saying that.
Okay,
Making notes.
so now to the agenda, we've covered a bunch of stuff. Do you guys want to do the executive session and get the salary stuff done?
Sure.
So are there other
non-executive.
Are there other
session?
non-executive session things, knowing that we have more meetings, that we don't have to solve everything today?
Well, I'd like to get close to solving things. I mean, I think we're
2 weeks.
closing in here, yeah.
In the public session, I was just wondering if we could address one administrative item. Since we're getting close to the end of the budget process, can we post the tentative budgets to the village website so
Those,
that there can be public discussion?
yep, I have to put the paperwork together, and I'm going to have that posted. The legal notice has been sent out, and I'm getting that ready.
Okay, so for the subsequent meetings, we'll have the tentative budgets posted?
Yeah, I can
Sure.
post the tentative
Is that
budgets.
okay with everyone?
Yeah.
Since we are discussing it, I would just like, we've
Yeah,
got a
no.
public comment
That's what
section,
she's doing.
theoretically at least.
Yep.
Be good to have that
That's
out
the
there.
process.
No, and getting it together for the website and what we're speaking to for the public to hand out.
Okay, great. So I'll make a motion to go into executive session
Is there a second?
to cover
Yeah, thank you.
confidential information around employee performance and salary.
Is there a second?
A second?
Roll call, please.
Trustee Lightgev,
Aye.
trustee Keating,
Aye.
trustee Lampier, trustee Stetser,
Aye.
Mayor Plummer,
Aye.
motion passes. Oh, Q&A.
So is anybody online? Have any
Yeah, we
questions?
have 4 people. It says, if you go into exec session, can you email when you come back out? Are we intending to do any more public
No.
work in the public forum? So I would say
We'll come back out to close the meeting
we'll
then.
only be coming out.
This is our last piece of business.
Okay.
Are there any questions we need to address? Other?
No,
That was the
the only
question.
thing, my question is anything else the board wants me to look at and review? I think I've answered.
I did want to, and I did want to just say one quick thing. Because we are seeking grant money, I do think we should put in something to just have help with, writing grants.
Does the town have a grant writer, or do they have someone on staff that we could share? Is that a shared?
Not happening. Yeah, checked it out. Yeah,
Okay.
not happening.
All right.
Um,
Good thinking.
I know, believe me, first place to go.
Yeah.
But even if we could put in 10,000 just to help us procure some of these grants, there's some opportunities out there.
Yeah, along
And
with
so I think it'd be
Mel
money well
and-
spent. Yeah, money well spent.
LWRP.
Exactly. A lot out there. So that would
I
be,
will play around and see if I
Okay.
can squeeze 10 from someone.
okay.
Run with the other 2.
Well-
But you guys have your conversation and then
Yeah.
let me know.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm going to pause the recording. Hold on.
Transcript. And that is on. Okay, so
Okay, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn the meeting.
let's talk about, let's just do our to-dos really
Oh,
quickly.
Yeah,
Okay.
good idea. We've got, I don't see it on here, but I'm assuming we're meeting next Monday, the 4th?
Yeah,
Okay, I don't know why there's not a star on the calendar, maybe she just hasn't noted it yet.
Here are the to-dos that are remaining on our list. And send them around if you've got others.
Okay,
Okay, we did cost of living raises, we did attorneys, we did arboretum, we did South and Boughton Curran, we did the outlier discussion. So the 2 things that are remaining from the current list are the contingency fund, at what level do we want to fund it? And that's always a good last thing to talk
Yeah.
about.
yeah.
And then controller review the items that Justin brought up at the 324 meeting.
okay.
What other prep, Justin, do you need us to do for that discussion?
We were going to send that out electronically and
Sure, I can
didn't.
send that spreadsheet out and I think
Yeah.
Ruby's got a copy of the comptroller letter. You can just Google that.
Yeah.
Cool.
Read it. Okay.
Okay,
So
anything
that'll
else?
be next week. I don't see it on our calendar here, but assuming when that alert, Dorothea, I don't know why it's not on here.
Okay.
All right, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn the meeting.
I'll second.
I will make a motion that we,
Oh, shoot. I thought you
Entertain
said.
motion.
Sorry, go ahead.
and you second it.
I'll second it. Oh my gosh.
We're going to get through this, I know we are.
How many times have we done this?
Okay, roll call. Trustee Stetser?
Aye.
Trustee Lampier?
Aye.
Trustee Keating?
Aye.
Trustee Lightgib?
Aye.
And Mayor Plummer? Aye. Okay, meeting is adjourned. Thank
When you
you.
say that, I hear it as, I'm making a motion. And so
No, I entertain the
Yeah, I
motion
gotcha.
and put it
My brain
to the
goes.
board. Okay, folks, thank you, and we can stop recording. Thank you. Thanks for helping with that, Dan.
Are we done with fuzzy sweaters?
I know, I'm so mad.
I was so cold this morning, I'm so layered. I